Assalamu alaikum, peace be with you. Thank you for joining me for this continuing series on 30 reasons for being Muslim. Today, I want to look at the reason that Islam treats men and women as spiritual equals. That to me is a very good reason for being Muslim, because think about it, it's become almost axiomatic today that men and women are equals. And it is interesting that already in the Quran, some 1400 years ago, men and women are already being treated as spiritual equals. And so by following the Quran, by following Islam, Muslims have this sense that we are part of this global movement to ensure the rights of women and the respect that should be given to women, a respect that was withheld for such a long time. Now, stepping back from Islam for a moment, seeing the bigger picture, we can see where the problem lies. The scriptures of the world's religions were revealed a long time ago, at a time when women did not have many rights, whether in Arabia or outside of Arabia. Everywhere, almost in the world, it seems that women were neglected. They were thought to be second-class citizens and not given many rights. So the scriptures can hardly be expected to speak to this basic human truism that we recognize today. And we find, of course, the contrary. We find, for example, in the creation story, in another scripture, that Adam is created, and it says that Adam became a living soul. And it's not said about Eve that she also became a living soul. And that gave rise in the Middle Ages to a discussion among clerics. Does that mean that Eve has a soul or doesn't have a soul? We know that Adam has a soul, but we can't be so sure about Eve and about women in general. And the creation of Eve is shown to be a kind of like a secondary creation. God created Adam and then created the animals, brought them to Adam to see what he will find satisfaction in. But he couldn't be satisfied with any of these, and then God created the woman to be a helper for him. So it looks like her creation was a kind of an afterthought. And if Adam was satisfied with the animals, she might not have been created. And in any case, she is created to be a helper to him, not as a person in her own right. And then further down into the story, we learn that when Adam ate from the forbidden tree, it is because Eve gave him the fruit, and that caused him to eat. And so a point can be made in the Middle Ages by the clerics again, that look at this. It is, the devil couldn't approach Adam directly, but he approached her through the woman. Eve became the gateway through which the devil could approach Adam. And by extension, they would then argue that, women of their day, also, they're descendants of Eve, and somehow they are somehow implicated in that whole mess. But when we come to the Quran, we see that, in fact, women's rights are upheld, and the status and dignity of women as spiritual equals with men is assured. First of all, about the soul. Surah 4, verse number 1 is recited often in Friday sermons. I certainly recite it almost in every sermon. It says, Ya ayyuhan nasu taqu rabbakum alladhi khalaqakum min nafsin wahida. O humankind, be aware of your Lord who created you from a single soul. Wa khalaqa minha zawjaha. And created from it its pair, so from that single soul. Now, soul in Arabic is feminine, interestingly enough. So one might even think that, the feminine soul was created first. But of course, grammatical feminine doesn't mean necessarily ontological feminine. But nonetheless, it just seems to reverse that whole narrative and makes us think about it from a different angle. And when it comes to the whispering of the Satan, the Quran says, فَوَسْوَسَ لَهُمَا الشَّيْطَانُ. So Satan whispered to the two of them. And then in the 20th chapter of the Quran, we read, فَعَصَى آدَمُ رَبَّهُ. Adam disobeyed his Lord. So the only time anyone is said of the two to have disobeyed his Lord is Adam. And the rest of the time is just the two of them being spoken about. So it is not even mentioned that Eve disobeyed God in this whole scenario. And so the Quran has somehow reversed that narrative and given us a new perspective on the whole question, and raised the rank of women to spiritual equality with men. This is very refreshing for Muslims, not only at this basic and theoretical core level, but we see that in the manifestation of Islamic teachings as well, the Quran pays attention to women. So, for example, in the 33rd chapter of the Quran, God makes a special point to say that it is the Muslim men and the Muslim women, the believing men and the believing women, And all of the promises are given to all of them. Those who pray among men, those who fast among men and women, those who pray and fast, men and women, all of them, God has prepared a good reward for them in the life hereafter. So that shows that at a spiritual level, men and women are equal. Now, people may differ about some of the other superficial aspects, but it is useful to know that at this very basic spiritual level, men and women have that equality recognized in the Quran. So what that means for us is that as we try to become better Muslims during this month of Ramadan, and even inshallah, even after the month of Ramadan, we recognize that we are embracing principles and behaviors and practices and teachings which are in harmony with global aspirations and recognition. So as we come to recognize more and more in our present age the need to show the equality between men and women, we find that at the core, our religious teachings is supportive of this way of recognizing women and granting the rights of women. And there's much more that can be said about the rights of women that are in the Quran, but one might want to recommend reading the 4th chapter of the Quran, Surah An-Nisa, and the 65th chapter of the Quran, which are about the rights of women, and many others, for example, Surah Al-Baqarah. What does this mean for us and the world? It means for us that we are holistic persons. It means that we embrace the truth wherever it is found, and we go back and we find that that truth is already in our religion. It means that when Muslims try to be better Muslims by working for human rights and for women's rights in particular, we're making the world a better place. So thank you for joining me for this discussion today. Tomorrow, we'll deal with another reason for being Muslim. Peace be with you, and the mercy and blessings of God.
Tired of seeing how Muslims are depicted in media? You can help. Support Muslim Media Hub, the first of its kind to empower young Muslims to create content for film, TV, and social media. Visit our website, QuranSpeaks.com, and donate.